To prevent prisoners from faking their death, the warden presses a torch against the soles of their feet, but after burning for quite a while, this prisoner showed no reaction at all. The warden immediately ordered the body disposed of. The guards draped a burial shroud over him, planning to carry the body out after their meal. They had no idea that another prisoner was hiding in a tunnel, watching the whole thing unfold. The moment the guards left, Edmond scrambled out of the tunnel. Seeing the priest who'd been his companion for years, now gone forever, he completely broke down. The thought that he might end up the same way one day sparked a desperate idea in his mind. He quickly tore open the burial sack, dragged the priest's body into his own cell, and arranged it on the bed to look like someone sleeping. Then he cut off his own hair and placed it on the priest's head, disguising the body as himself. Once everything was set, Edmond went back to the priest's cell, pried a stone loose from the wall with a small knife, and pulled out a folded piece of paper, a treasure map the priest had left for him. There was no time to study it. He climbed into the burial sack and sealed himself inside. 14 years of wrongful imprisonment. This was his one and only chance to escape this island fortress. After their meal, the guards came back. Hiding inside the sack, Edmond was drenched in cold sweat, terrified they'd see through his ruse. They noticed the body felt heavier than expected, but didn't think much of it. The two guards carried the sack up to the ramparts. To keep the body from floating, they tied a heavy iron ball to the sack. Everything ready, they hoisted it to the edge of the fortress wall and hurled it over.
Alright, ready, Pierre?
Yeah.
1, 2.
The instant he hit the water, Edmond whipped out the small knife he'd hidden on his body, slashed open the burial sack, cut the rope binding the iron ball to his feet, and swam for the surface with everything he had. Meanwhile, a guard arrived at Edmond's cell to deliver his meal. After calling out several times with no response, he opened the door and walked in.
Guard! Call the governor!
The warden rushed to the cell in a panic, spotting clumps of hair on the floor. Something clicked. He immediately ordered the bed moved aside, then pried loose the wall stones, revealing a secret tunnel behind them.
Well, don't just stand there! Run! Serve the cannon! Muster the guards!
But it was far too late. Edmond, a former sailor and expert swimmer, had already made it safely to shore. This man, wrongfully imprisoned for 14 years, burning with an obsession for revenge, was about to begin a brand new life. To avoid being captured, Edmond didn't dare linger after reaching land. He slipped into a farmhouse, rummaged through a wardrobe for some worn-out clothes, and changed out of his prison uniform as fast as he could. He was about to clean himself up when the face staring back at him in the mirror stopped him cold, weathered, aged, and completely unrecognizable. 15 years ago, Edmond had been a spirited young man with the world ahead of him. At his engagement party with his fiancée Mercedes, he was living the happiest moment of his life. But before the celebration was even over, a squad of soldiers burst in and arrested him on the spot for treason. No trial, no chance to defend himself. Just like that, he was locked away in the Château d'If. From that moment on, endless darkness swallowed his youth. The only thing keeping him alive was the thought of Mercedes. Then, years later, fate intervened. The priest, due to a slight miscalculation, had tunneled right into Edmond's cell. Two wrongfully imprisoned men, instant kindred spirits. From then on, the priest taught Edmond everything he knew: mathematics, chemistry, astronomy, even the social etiquette of the aristocracy. Bit by bit, this knowledge reshaped Edmond's mind, and every night, the two of them worked together digging the tunnel, reflecting on all he'd endured. The fire of vengeance inside Edmond burned hotter than ever. Suddenly, he heard a noise outside. He quickly gathered his belongings and slipped away, relying on faded memories. He made his way back to the town where he once lived. His most urgent wish was to find out what had become of his father.
There was a man named Edmond Dantès. Does he still live here?
He died many years ago.
When did he die?
5, 6 years ago.
Edmond was utterly devastated. Fighting back his grief, he went to the church where his father was buried, and with the help of the priest there, found his father's gravestone.
See? Louis Dantès died of grief, 1825. And there next to him is his son, Edmond Dantès. He died 10 years before the father. Shame, isn't it?
Once he'd steadied himself, Edmond set out to find Mercedes, but another blow was waiting.
A woman once lived here who mended nets. Do you know where she is now? Her name is Mercedes.
She's long gone.
Gone where?
She married and moved to Paris.
Memories of their tender moments together cut through him like a knife. He wandered the streets like a hollow shell, with no idea where to go. That's when he stumbled upon a guard chasing down an escaped prisoner.
Free me! Free me, my friend!
He just wanted to leave, but the prisoner latched onto him with fierce loyalty, refusing to go no matter how many times Edmond tried to shake him off. Just then, a patrol of soldiers appeared up ahead. They quickly ducked into a roadside carriage and slipped out of town. Along the way, Edmond learned that this man, Jacopo, had been arrested for smuggling liquor, and that his cargo ship was still anchored by the coast. Edmond went with Jacopo to the ship. He then claimed he'd once been a captain and could sail them all back home to Italy. Jacopo and his crew were thrilled, completely unaware that Edmond had other plans. He didn't head for Italy at all. Using an approaching storm as an excuse, he convinced everyone to change course toward the island of Monte Cristo. Once they reached the shore, Edmond told Jacopo and his men to stay with the ship while he went to find food on the mountain. In truth, he was going alone to search for the treasure the priest had told him about. Following the map's directions, he scoured nearly every inch of the mountain but found nothing. Edmond grew more and more frustrated. He clutched the compass, checking and rechecking the bearings and his step count, when Jacopo suddenly appeared behind him.
You need a compass to catch a goat?
I was just orientating myself.
Weather is good. We sail.
Edmond knew that staying any longer would only raise suspicion. He had no choice but to leave with the others. As they sailed away, Edmond stood at the bow, his gaze fixed on the island shrinking in the distance, turning over and over in his mind why the search had failed. It wasn't until the ship had sailed far out that he suddenly spotted two massive rocks on the mountaintop that looked like rabbit ears. The rabbit rock marked on the treasure map. A surge of wild excitement rushed through him, but he couldn't let it show. He needed to find a way back to Monte Cristo. A few hours later, the ship reached Jacopo's hometown. Grateful for Edmond saving his life, Jacopo treated him generously, even offering to introduce him to his sister. Edmond politely declined. Watching Jacopo's family gathered around the dinner table, laughing and enjoying each other's company, Edmond felt nothing but bitterness. If not for that unjust imprisonment, he would have had a home like this too. Late that night, unable to sleep, the priest's words about a vast treasure hidden on the island echoed relentlessly in his mind.
Where great treasure hoard is hidden, I believe it's still there.
Unable to resist any longer, he stole Jacopo's small sailboat under the cover of darkness and set off alone for that solitary island. As dawn broke, Edmond set foot on Monte Cristo once more and headed straight for the two towering rocks standing side by side. He carefully compared the map to his surroundings, and there, behind the twin boulders, he found a concealed opening. Holding his breath, hands trembling, he pushed the stones aside to reveal a cave. He ducked inside and crept carefully into the depths. What he saw there took his breath away. Dozens of wooden chests, neatly stacked on the ground.
God bless you, Abbé Faria.
Edmond stepped out of the cave and spread his arms wide in the morning light. Before this moment, his life had been nothing but suffering, injustice, and silent endurance. From this day forward, he would use this fortune to write a new chapter, one woven with power, vengeance, and redemption.